Hello, hello, hello. Rick Kamla, Aaron Bruski, Fantasy NBA today, Sports Ethos Fantasy Basketball, and Brew. I am wearing today an old school Terrell Owens jersey, okay? Old Eagles jersey,
Ooh.
right? Big Terrell Owens fan. I'm not an
Oh,
Eagles fan. I am a big Terrell Owens fan. Him having to wait for the Hall of Fame is one of the big grievances that I have with the sports world in recent years. I'm not a Philadelphia Eagles fan, Brew, but I am psyched because I don't have many opportunities to wear this TO jersey. And also, that was a victory for the people last night, Brew.
oh,
That was
amen
a
to that.
victory for the people because the NFL could not shift a blowout in their favor. So that
Ah,
Taylor Swift had all the optics and all the takeaways and all the laughs, all that stuff. Okay. So the people got one last night. We stuck it to the man, bro.
Oh, I don't know about all that. I was pretty 50-50 on this one, but I enjoyed watching the game from the airport. I watched Bradley. I thought the cool part was Bradley Cooper getting to scream into the microphone with his kid there. That made me feel I missed my kid. I was in San Diego all weekend, having fun, having too much fun. Glad to be back in normality. Yeah, no, it was good. They kicked the crap out of him. It was great.
They did, man. I did not watch the second half. I was at a Mexican food restaurant at the bar, having an ultra and some Mexican food. And I watched the first half, Brew, and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
There was literally nothing more to see. So I didn't care about any of that. But I tell you what, guys, we are here to talk a whole lot of fantasy basketball. Okay, there is a massive slate of games coming up here tonight. We've got all kinds of rankings. We're going to get into some ATS. Into some prop bets, and we've got you here, man. So first, we want to tell you about our awesome sponsor, Bet Online. Okay, they've got updated odds, props, everything you need. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. Again, did I mention props? They've got hundreds of prop bets, MVP odds, in-game live betting, obviously point spreads and totals and all that stuff. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline offers you everything and more to enhance your game day experience. So visit the website today, betonline.com. Make the game day action count even more. BetOnline, the game starts here. So, Brew, before we get into a look ahead to Monday night slate, let's do a little weekend recap here. Very interesting weekend of basketball. We start with some news here. It's not good, Brew. Anthony Davis, according to Shams Charania, will miss multiple weeks with a left adductor strain. Let's process this from the fantasy perspective. How are you seeing it?
Well, can we not first say, holy crap, it took like all of one game for everything to happen at once. I mean, the biggest, he's out there, he's having a great game. It's a huge game. And maybe this trade worked. No, it didn't. And the thing that we expected to happen happened. That is crazy timing. And Nico Harrison, man, that guy's having a really rough couple weeks, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon. The Daniel Gafford show is going to keep on going. That's super interesting. And then you got PJ Washington questionable. I know we're going to talk about some ads here, but Najee Marshall, I think, comes into focus with this. Some of the backcourt stuff gets a little bit interesting because that production's now got to be replaced. You're sort of back into the pre-trade scenario with Luka out and Spencer Dinwiddie, but you don't have Quentin Grimes anymore. Dante Exum now, I think, becomes a little bit of an interesting, safe, low-end play. So there's a couple moving pieces here with Dallas. And then, of course, what does this do to their morale? Does this tip this team over? And how far can they fall?
So you mentioned, I'm so glad you went there because when Kyrie Irving is in a great mood, things are great. When Kyrie Irving's not in a great mood, it's different. I worry about, Brew, look, I'm worried about Dallas falling below the play-in tournament line right now. They are 1.5 up on that cluster of Sac, Phoenix, and Golden State. 4.5 up on San Antonio. What if Kyrie blows a tire? They're dead in the water. From a fantasy perspective, Brew, it's so hard to trust Dinwiddie. Brew, I've probably gone to the Dinwiddie card twice this year, and both times it wasn't fun, right? You'll get a decent game, 2 crappy games. Kid will start him one night, bring him off the bench the next. It's not a good ride. It's not a really productive ride, and it's a a high maintenance ride. So I'm not really feeling that, man. And I'd say, Klay Thompson's going to get a boost. No, he's not. He's going to be 13 points and 3 threes. That's all he's going to be able to give you. But PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, I think, are big winners here, Brew. Gafford's not going to have to share the rebounding, right? So he's going to have these 15 rebound games and really have some go-off games. I believe he had 6 blocks in the Saturday game. So, and Gafford's going to do even more now. We thought Gafford would take a hit with Davis going there. That is not going to happen. And then for PJ Washington, like his rebounds were probably going to take a pretty significant hit with Davis and Gafford in there. So I think PJ Washington gains a lot of value with this injury as well.
All right, you kind of woke me up there, Rick. Thank you for that. Daniel Gafford is somebody that we've had on. We were higher on Gafford than anybody else. So I have Gafford everywhere. And so Gafford's had these moments. He's like getting knocked out of games. And I'm looking at my team list and I'm like, damn it, he's on every team. Like this sucks. And then he bounces back and now he's sort of the focal point in the big man department there. And this stat line's absurd. 16 and 11 over the last 10 games, 31 minutes a game, 16 and 11, 2.5 assists, a half steal, just under 4 blocks a game. And he's shooting 67% from the field and 80% from the foul line. It's crazy. And so it was all happening. And you're like, how long can this last? And, he's getting dinged up the whole time. And then this trade happens. He's going to go back to being just a normal kind of top 50 guy. No, he's going to be a beast the rest of the season. And to your point about who makes the playoffs, this thing's getting real interesting. I was asking questions about Phoenix in my mind. Are they going to fall out of this thing? Because right behind them, Golden State adds Jimmy Butler. San Antonio adds De'Aaron Fox. Portland's they would go like 9-1 out of 10 games, and they're pushing now. I think it's going to be bad news. Dallas could fall out of this thing, and if that happens, then it's all kind of bets off. PJ Washington 19-10 over his last 8 games. They're going to be a fun fantasy team with those 2 guys and Kyrie Irving.
But again, I can't, play all of these other cards here. Klay, not feeling it. Najee Marshall, not feeling it. Spencer Dinwiddie, Dante Exum. Of that group, Max Christie, he's had 3 really strong games since joining Dallas. He went 23-2-2 in 33 minutes in Saturday's win over Houston, when Davis didn't play in the fourth quarter there. Of the non-Gafford Washington Kyrie guys, Christie, even above Klay Thompson right now, I would rather have on my squad. Brew, let's get to some more news here. Okay, weirdest trade deadline ever got weirder. The Luka trade was weird. The deadline itself with the lack of big names and fireworks was weird. And then we get the Mark Williams Dalton Connect trade rescinded. Connect goes back to the purple and gold. Williams goes back to Charlotte, where they just paid Diabate. You have Nurkic, who probably will never play again. So they now have 3 centers. So how did that news hit you on Saturday night when you were having fun in San Diego?
I just looked and laughed. I said, "That's freaking awesome!" And then I got to my next drink. It was, I kind of felt like when the trade happened, maybe the Lakers were a little over their skis, trying to just like push things into the middle, and I got the sense that they could have had this deal work out. Like, how do you make this deal and not know about the medical? That means somebody screwed up somewhere, whether that's on the Charlotte side or the Los Angeles side. Like, this stuff's not supposed to happen, and it just happened a couple times, but it's really not supposed to happen. So I think they kind of maybe had buyer's remorse and said, no, hey, we'll take this little piece of intel we got and we'll use it. And because generally speaking, you don't want this to happen. You don't want teams to think that you could have things blow up. So it's bad for Mark Williams. It's bad for Dalton Connect. Connect was a hot pickup. He was going to get some keys thrown his way in Charlotte. So that just goes down the tube. And then it brings back into the LA side into focus the Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes question marks, whether these guys can have sustainable value heading down the stretch. And then in the meantime, you got yourself an Austin Reeves kick-ass game. And I've got Reeves everywhere and had him ranked as like a top 35 guy heading into this season. And it was all heading that direction. And I'm just super interested to see, can this dude navigate his way through this mess of big time players and somehow be not the same as a top 35 guy or even a top 50 or 60 guy, but can he be like a top 75 guy? That's what I want to see out of him going forward.
That is the legendary Aaron Bruski. I am Rick Kamla. We are the Fantasy NBA today here on the Sports Ethos Fantasy Basketball platform. Nick Smith is a go now. And he missed Sunday's game, which was a buzzkill, but they play again here on Monday. So I believe that that was maybe a rest thing, hopefully. But Nick Smith's been balling, okay? He really has, consistently hovering around 20 a game. He had like a 25-5 joint on Friday night in the win over San Antonio. So with Connect not going there, he should really be green lit for some success here. Brew makes a great point about Rui. Anytime Davis is out, Rui's the guy, and you're not dropping Mark Williams in there. So Rui takes a value hike to me. More like, because Austin Reeves is about to go from 45-7-7 to, yo, man, can I get the rock? But Rui, I think, is going to go up here a little bit. Let me ask you a question going back to the Charlotte centers. Go ahead, Brew.
Yeah, no, I felt like I kind of gave the Charlotte side short shrift there. It's like there's so much going on. Nick Smith Jr. is absolutely one of the most exciting ads, just because you don't kind of know what you're going to get, and it's very poppy. It's going to be a lot of PRA, and then who knows what after that. But you got guys like KJ Simpson, Seth Curry went off the other day. Moussa Diabate's value has been all over the place. It started off great before the trade deadline. It got it kind of hit a crescendo, and then all of a sudden Yusuf Nurkic shows up at the last second and brings that thing down. And then now you've got, well, what about Mark Williams? If we took the trade deadline out of this picture, we would be like, okay, Mark Williams is doing fine. He's doing great even. Now, with whatever has happened with his foot, that's my guess, that's now in question. This is a tanking team. Does Mark Williams get out of the way, or does he keep going? You know, and Moussa Diabate's value will be hinged to that to some degree. So a lot of interesting stuff and a lot of deep league names to get in on. So pretty excited about the Charlotte situation in general.
So Nurkic is not going to play, okay? Like if you've got Nurkic and Diabate, maybe Nurkic plays. You've got Nurkic, Williams, and Diabate now. So it like, and a lot of people picked up Nurkic. I think I did in a league. You can safely, I think, send him back to waivers. To me, Brew, Diabate is the guy to have here rest of season, even more than Mark Williams, because I could be wrong about this. If Charlotte plays Mark Williams 30 minutes a night, clearly we will pivot off of that, and I'll tell you that I was wrong. But based on the information that we have right now, Mark Williams was missing games prior to the trade. But, Brew, he'd play, miss, right? It was a weird yo-yo with Mark Williams, traded to L.A. They red flag him due to medicals. Now he goes back to Charlotte. Can Charlotte really play him? Or does their medical team now go, guys, we look like buttheads right now. We played Mark Williams and authorized him to play, and the Lakers just red flagged and rescinded a big trade about it. So how bad do we look over here? So how do we continue to play Mark Williams, who may in fact be like trying to gut it out through some kind of plantar fasciitis? I don't know what the hell is it, because the report said like it was myriad health issues, right? So how does he go back and play in Charlotte?
We'll
so
think about
that question mark takes me to Diabate, who, Brew, they just paid. And when you just get paid, that means they're going to play you.
Yeah. Diabate, my only concern there is upside. Like if the free throw thing can be managed, then obviously the upside question is answered with that. But if that's not a part of the DNA, you know, if you're in a roto league and you're in a race for free throw and you can't take that bleep, then I don't think I would do that over Mark Williams, even in this current conundrum, which we might find out. Like it could be reported tomorrow, right now, that he's not playing the rest of the season. Now, to your question of the PTs and the training staff, that's fascinating. You would almost have to know them to know what their approach will be here. Because on one hand, yeah, you put the big fat spotlight on it and it's like, hey, we were doing a thing we shouldn't have been doing. We were trying to maybe shove this guy into some trade value, and we weren't really supposed to be doing that. Or alternatively, they go, hey, those guys don't know bleep. We're going to play him because he's healthy. We think he's healthy, and we want to kind of put our chips in the middle and say he is healthy. It just depends on whether Mark's camp would be good with that. And if they are, maybe they shove him out there. But I tend to believe that this was bad for him and that this is going to be less playing time rather than more playing time.
Oh, boy.
We got more?
Andre Lemouche, best producer in the biz,
Ever.
gives us this report from SI. The Hornets trade for Yusuf Nurkic is still pending. You don't say. Cody Martin, sports hernia. Cody Martin and his sports hernia may be holding up the Hornets deal with the Suns for Nurkic as the team reconsiders sending one of its few assets for a player who may not see the floor until for a while. That from Owen O'Connor. So yay! We might get the reunion here of Nurkic and Coach Bud, who were at each other's throats to the point where Nurkic got sent home, iced out, and now traded. So have fun going back to, I mean, it's a weather upgrade. It's a beautiful women upgrade, but damn.
But damn, and the Cody Martin thing was low-key important for Charlotte, clearing out minutes for guys like Nick Smith Jr. and just getting to the bottom of the rotation so we could get to the bottom of the rotation and get our silly season heroes in play. This is it sucks. The Martins, I don't know what's going on. When brothers are constantly hurt, you see this with kind of like with these two guys. Who's the other two? There's another pair of brothers that are constantly hurt. I'll have to remember that. But yeah, no, this is just a bummer. Cody Martin is a good player. So is Caleb Martin, a good player. These guys should not be this injured at this stages of their career. And what are you going to do? I mean, Charlotte's having a really bad week, I would say. Now it's really on them.
They really are.
Really on them now.
Oh boy. So we'll move on. I just want to make this point. I think I saw this morning, Brew, that the most dropped player in Yahoo leagues is Moussa Diabate. He just got hurt. Williams is coming back. So I think I think a lot of you should pivot and go back and pick him up. He played very well against Wemby on Friday night. Okay, go back and you don't have to watch the game. Go look at the box score from that night. Moussa put goodies out there. Moussa Diabate does not block shots, though. You need to know this as we learn these silly season players. He is not bringing anything to the shot blocking category, and yes, that's a buzzkill. Jimmy Butler made his debut. Brew, you got all these guys, they get traded and they never play again. It's the weirdest thing in the NBA, and yes, it's really annoying. But Jimmy Butler, kind of on a timely fashion, got to work here. Playing on Saturday in a win over the Bulls. He had 25 points in 29 minutes, played very, very well. Steph Curry, very important to add, also went off with Jimmy Butler. He had 34 points, made 8 3 balls. And so, look, Brew, it's the honeymoon right now. Everybody's, it's new and it's fun and exciting and can't wait to go out. Oh, I can't wait to Netflix and chill, with this new lady you've met and taken out on a date, right? It's all good. It's a love fest out there. Let Jimmy Butler start DNPing and things may change. But I thought it was cool to see Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry both kind of go off together. And Brew, there's a little Buddy Hield uprising happening right now. 3 straight games with with 4 threes in those games. And so talk to me and take it from there, man.
A couple things. I guess real quick, I'll say Mark Williams listed out Monday coach's decision. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. I have Buddy Hield as a 3-point contest bet. I couldn't find the odds anywhere once I learned he was in it. I tried to find the odds. They weren't out. So I just kind of flagged that as something I need to try to remember to do. The box score is healthy now, theoretically, in Golden State. And if the box score is healthy, Buddy Hield's the kind of guy that it's like giving him a bunch of, like putting gasoline on a fire. He's just going to take whatever is coming his way and then he'll convert on it. And he gets steals and he gets, he gets into the mix. He'll get some assists. He'll get some rebounds. And you kind of don't even notice that it's happening, but he does. And I think he's an ad. I think that the Warriors now just got a shot in the arm. I think that it's good for Steph. It's good for Jimmy. I think that at this stage of his career, Jimmy's heard all of the noise, and there's not a lot of basketball left for him. If he wants to wait to play, it's going to be a short wait. Like, he's going to be old here really soon, and that's not going to bode well. So I think he's going to take whatever games are left, minus some obvious stuff. If he's got an obvious injury, they don't play through it. But I think he's going to try to play. And it's not pretty, but, he's going to be one of these kind of difference makers down the stretch. So if you got a lot of Jimmy Butler, as I do, as a lot of us do, this is a good thing.
It is. He's with a dynastic organization with discipline and standards. And not that Pat Riley and his championship organization didn't have that, but it just got ugly and weird. But now he's new. But, everything Golden State does is at a class act level. Again, I'm not comparing it to Miami. I'm just saying. So he's in a new environment. They know how to do things. Steve Kerr doesn't know how to fill out a rotation this year. He's completely forgotten how to do that, which is weird, but they know how to do everything else. So far, so good there. All right, Brew, let's move on here. Let's get into some of our stuff here today. Let's start with as we continue recapping the weekend again. So there's your main news. There was a bunch of other news, but that's the main stuff.
Can I go ahead? Do a quick shout out. I want to quick shout out our MLB baseball team. Paul Williamson, Anthony Cates, and others. You guys got nominated for an FSWA award, as did John Mosales from our NFL department for Best Fantasy Football Article of the Year. I picked up another nom, and I'd like to thank everybody that made that possible, because if I don't have a producer like Andre, folks like you and Doc, people like Panda, people like Keston, people like Mark Camaro, the tons of people that work behind the scenes that make all of this possible. There's no way I've got an injury that prohibits me from doing a ton of typing or a ton of, clicking with the mouse. We've kind of had to refashion everything to make that work. And I just want to make sure that they get their shine. These guys have been working so hard behind the scenes, and to get those awards in NFL and MLB, these sides of our company are not as big as NBA, and it just shows that they're all doing the right things and making things happen. So good job, guys.
That's incredible. I'm so happy to hear that, man. And as we move forward here, I'm going to be a little bit more infused in the football, a little bit more infused into the baseball. And Brew, that I'm very, very excited about that. I'm an all sports guy, but I live here in basketball land. I'm rooted here. Look, you cut me. I don't bleed red. It's orange. Andre says people want to know what being ruled out by coach's decision means. Okay. So these days it's murky. It used to be in the box score player, DMP coach's decision. The coach just made a decision rotationally, like Steve Kerr icing out my boy Trace Jackson Davis. That's a coaching decision. Okay. But when you have an injury by your name, then that's why you missed that game. Okay. But teams have either gotten lazy or devious with this, because sometimes a guy, you'll read like 3 reports. He's gone from probable to questionable to doubtful, and then he misses the game, right? But in the box score, it says coach's decision. You're like, wait a minute, this guy's got an ankle. Why doesn't it say ankle, sprained left ankle or whatever? It says coach's decision. So it's a hard question to answer right now. And to Brew's thing with Mark Williams, right? That could be injury. That could be a coach's decision. That could be a front office decision. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. That's the best I got. Can you help the people out?
I think you can pull this thing off for like one day, one game. It's like, it's a coach's decision. A lot of stress going on. I said, hey, you don't need to play today, but if it happened a second time, right. Now we're covering something up here. And it's the Hornets have developed a reputation over the last couple of years of not being straight with the people. And it's interesting because they used to be pretty straight with the people, but something changed and somebody got hired and somebody got let go. Who knows? I don't know the situation on the ground there. They changed their philosophy on injury reporting because they literally just didn't address the Mark Williams thing all season long last year. They just didn't even address it. Like, hey, paying customers, that guy, we don't know. He's just out. Yeah. We don't know when he'll be back.
That's lame, man. That is lame. LaMelo Ball, by the way, not on the injury report for Monday. Andre, is there a report out about Nick Smith? Is he balling tonight? I'd like to know because he was questionable. Although I think Nick Smith was a rest game yesterday. We'll find out if he plays tonight or not. All right, Brew, we are going to get into our top 5 must-add players from the previous weekend. Do you want to unpack your list and then I give you let's do it that way as opposed to going back and forth. I think that maybe gets a little confusing for people. My boy Nick Smith is questionable, as is Diabate tonight. So why don't you give your 5 first here, Brew, and then I'll go.
Okay, so I kind of try to just think like, all right, most leagues, who's maybe more interesting, because I got about maybe 15 guys here that I put on my pre-list. And at the top of my list was Keon Johnson. And I think it's just because he's moved inside the top 100 over the last few weeks. It feels like he's carved out that spot in Brooklyn. And I've been on Keon and then basically moved off whenever he's had some bad games because that team's rotated the players that are productive. it feels like that's changing a little bit. And if that becomes the case, especially if you're in a head-to-head league where you can manage percentages and you don't care about those things as much, he's got all the pop in the world. So he might take the ball and run with it down the stretch. I also had Najee Marshall and Max Christie, I think, rose up the list over Spencer Dinwiddie and all the stuff we were talking about earlier. I have a Sar Thompson. I have Vit Krejci. And then the one and only, you guys don't even need me to say the name, Keon Ellis. Back on the list. If you followed my Twitter feed, you know. But yeah, no, those are my 5. And you're on mute, sir.
Dang it, I had a good line too. Not one, not every time, right? Not one Keon, but 2 Keons on the same list. I love it. Just right on time. Just right on time. Woo! Oh my gosh. Okay. So I love the list. I've been big on Osar. The stat lines keep getting better game after game. We talked about Christie a little bit. Krejci had a fat line on Saturday against Washington and played 30 plus minutes. It was very cool. Keon Ellis is coming off the bench, but don't let that haunt you because the minutes are there. And my God, the fantasy gold, the block steals and threes from Bruce Guy. He is fantastic at those categories. All right, I'm going to give you my list here in a minute, okay? But we have just gotten some breaking news, courtesy of our boy Andre Lemouche and Eric Slater, the reporter, who says Yusuf Nurkic will make his Hornets debut tonight against the Nets. So Diabate questionable. Mark Williams out-coaches decision. Yusuf Nurkic for the win. He's probably going to start tonight, Brew. And look, Nick Claxton's a tough customer on the other side, but it's Brooklyn. They suck. So the Bosnian Beast should be unleashed tonight.
And he's going to be pissed, and he's going to try to get his numbers tonight and maybe try to parlay this into a starting job and never look back. This is the thing that's got me iffy on the big men in Charlotte is they could just rotate these guys. Why I like Diabate actually the most out of the 3, not counting the upside piece with Mark Williams, you know, I'll always chase upside. But in terms of just like, man, who's going to probably play? Who's going to probably be there every game? I know he's questionable tonight. That's worrisome. But like, it's Diabate. You know, he's the guy that if they're rotating the other 2, which are somewhat similar players in terms of size and a little difference here and there. But like Diabate's a thinner guy. He can play the 4 a little bit next to these dudes. They don't have a lot to choose from. So they just roll them out there 30 minutes a night, no matter who's playing. Is my take there, but this is a good thing for Nurk. You got to try to at least try to see if this is something, and then don't drop your best. You know, don't drop somebody that you're gonna wish you hadn't, but go for it.
I love the analysis and especially the part about you know, the rotating, like Williams and like, you know, next game Nurkic may sit, Williams may play, but he's got Diabate's got an eye abrasion, okay, and God bless him. I'm sure it's painful, but it's not a labrum thing or an ankle thing or a hip thing. You know, it's an eye thing. It's going to heal and he's going to play. His legs are fine. So he's going to be back here maybe even tonight. He's going to play every game. He's going to play 24 minutes every game. And so I just like the floor is Diabate. You want to shoot up for more upside with the other guys, you can go do that. But the safer guy right now, I think, is Diabate. All right. I didn't rank my list. I'll just give you 5 guys here, Brew. Brew, by the way, top 5 must-add pickups right now. Osar Thompson, Max Christie, Vit Krejci, Keon Ellis, and Keon Johnson. The Keons. I want to start first with Jose Alvarado. Okay. Willie Green and the Pels came to their senses on Saturday night, and they started Jose Alvarado. It was a complete joke, that start that Javonte Green got over him in the previous game, but they made it right. Jose in that game didn't play well, folks. 5 points, terrible shooting, but he had 9 assists and 3 steals and a 3. He is going to be a difference maker for you in those categories. CJ McCollum is out tonight, okay? Jose is going to do even more. Yes, even at Oklahoma City, should have a good game. Bol is on the radar, Brew. Bol has had back-to-back solid games. He's gone 19-7-1, 1 block, 4 steals, and I screwed that up. 19-7-1, 4 blocks, 1 steal, and 3 threes. 12-3-1, 3 blocks, and 2 more threes. Those are back-to-back games. I don't know how long Kevin Durant is going to miss, but Bol is his backup. So as long as Durant is out, Bol is going to do some Bol stuff. Matas Buzelis, Brew. I'm getting maybe a little bit of like show fatigue with him, but the people because I talk about him all the time, but the people need to know. Okay. So I will fight through that personal fatigue and give you the goodies here. Buzelis, pardon me, started Saturday night. Lonzo Ball was out again. He went 16, 4, and 5 with 1, 1, and 1 in the fantasy gold. I mean, why he's 28% roster.
That 5 is doing a lot there. The 5 assists. That's something when I watched him play the other day, I thought, man, this guy might be able to pass. And it's not part of the profile, so to speak, but it was. And here we are. I mean, if he becomes that guy, it's another 2 or 3, 4 rounds of value if he becomes that guy. So sorry, I didn't mean to step on you.
No, it's a great point, dude. Because that is out of position stuff for. But look, we don't know his full profile yet, right? What I can tell you is he's going to bring a combination of blocks and threes. I know that. I've scouted him to that point. Brew knows this as well. A lot of you have been watching. It's Mata season. And so he's very good at those. So I've given you Jose Alvarado, Bol, Matas, Buzelis. I want to go back to Stefan Castle. I was wrong. We get it wrong sometimes. Okay. When Chris Paul started that I believe is last Wednesday, Brew, but that first game where Fox played, right? Whatever that Fox debut was, right? Because I thought that was a big deal. Like Mitch Johnson showed his hand at that point, right? This is how we're going to deploy our guys. Sohan still coming off the bench, playing very well off the bench, by the way. And so I thought Paul would be on the bench, Castle would start. Nope. But Friday against Charlotte, Stefan Castle goes for 33 points in 31 minutes. Arguably the best player on the floor, totally kept San Antonio in that game by himself. And then Saturday, Brew went 15, 3, and 2, 1 block, 1 steal in 29 minutes. These are both bench games, okay? So he's still going to be a huge part of the plan. They're going to start Paul, but I think Paul's playing time, Brew, is going to shrink, and I think Castle's playing time is going to expand as we move forward here because he's bringing defense. He's bringing length. He's bringing slithery bucket getting, right? And I know Chris Paul's the general and all that kind of stuff, but Castle's bringing so much more oomph to the wood right now. So Stefan Castle, and then finally Bub Carrington, bro. Bub went 23, 4, and 7 on Saturday against Atlanta with 5 threes. Go get you some Bub, man.
I know. Hey, that we've been waiting for that one, and thank God Kyle Kuzma's out of there because now all of them can flourish. The Castle thing's huge, man. I hoped they would do that right off the bat. I didn't believe they would, and then they didn't. So I was also off of Castle. And then and I play a lot of roto, so those percentages are pretty brutal. But in head-to-head, screw that. It doesn't matter. He's going to be solid, I think, on most nights, up and down probably until he really truly hits a rhythm. But you don't need a floor general when you got De'Aaron Fox. And the more you let Chris Paul steal the tempo away from guys like De'Aaron Fox and Castle, it just screws up with the tempo of the team. So get it out of his hands, let Castle play off the ball, do his explosive things. And he's got a great mentality to shoot the ball. He's just going to keep shooting. So I think that plays well off of Fox. It's going to be great. So yeah, no, I like your list, sir. That's a good list.
Outstanding point about pace of game. They've got, Vassell can get out and run. Harrison Barnes is a good run and trail guy, right? He'll run and then peel off to the 3 line. He'll kick it back to him, but he can run a little bit. Sohan can run. Keldon Johnson can run. Champagnie can run. Castle obviously can run. I think that's just a great point about the more they can play fast, the better. All right, Brew, give us your 3 drops right now. Your top 3 drops here on the Fantasy NBA today.
3 drops. I had Holiday, DeAndre Hunter, and then I actually had Diabate on my list just because of the mess there. But I also call him a stash. So it's not an outright drop or it's the tough. Everybody's like, who do I drop? And you look at their list and there's a bunch of good players and it's always tough. The cut is tough, especially in a 10-team league. It's like always tough. But in a 12-team league, it's like, okay, who can I move off of Diabate for somebody who's higher on the list? My thing is, especially if free throw matters to you, yes. And in general, this situation in Charlotte just could get messy. Now, if we hear Mark Williams is out for the season, all right, I'm off that all entirely. And that's why you consider him a stash, at least, at minimum. And I do think there's value for him to even be considered an ad at this point. But if you're asking me on a tough drop, I like Diabate as a drop. But Holiday, I think that it's going to be a mess, and I can get into why. And Hunter, I think a lot of people have Hunter right now, and they're like, well, let's just see a game, let's just see how it goes. Well, if you're in a tough race and there's a lot of action on the board and there's a great waiver wire pickup there, I think you could get ahead of that and just say, you know what? Hey, if I lose, I lose, but let me go try to chase the upside here.
That is Aaron Bruski. We get more breaking news here. Andre is like wojing us or shamsing us right now.
Like I'm saying that, and he's literally reporting that or passing that along. That's amazing.
It is. Hornets updated Mark Williams' status to out, not with team.
Maybe he's flying back.
Well, yeah, I get it. But why today? Why wouldn't he fly back yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
The trade was rescinded on Saturday. It all came down Saturday night, which in the Pacific time zone was even earlier in the day. He could have jettisoned out that night, Sunday morning. Why now? So maybe he's flying back. I don't know. I don't.
He's
all
be
this
pretty
stuff
pissed
tends
off,
to bring up the conspiracy theorist in me, Brew. I don't know. It just takes my brain to those areas.
He's probably got to be a little pissed off that he's now been his injury has now been super publicized. A lot of players don't want their injuries publicized. They got to get new contracts. They don't want other players slapping down on their hurt wrist in the middle of a game. So they're super secretive about injuries. And now all of this, like, why'd you put me into this mess? And maybe he's been told he's not going to play. Who knows? This is bad though. Badish.
Yeah, maybe he's been told he's not going to play. Like we said, the medical staff cleared him. He goes to the Lakers. They red flagged the trade. How does he go back to Charlotte and their medical team just says, yeah, you're fine. Just go back out there and play it. It just would look so weird. Hornets PR release about him returning and how happy they are about it was priceless, according to Andre. It's just the weirdest deadline ever, guys. But Brew's right. Like, Williams might not play again this year, okay? Don't drop him. For the love of God, don't drop him. Just know that would probably be a stash right there, is just stash Mark Williams, and maybe they don't play him.
Yeah. Top 40 producer.
All right. So give me you had DeAndre Hunter. Who were your two other drops, Brew?
I had Otaka Musa a lot today, so I was just kind of giving the background there. And Drew Holiday. I think maybe they want to ramp him up for the playoffs and get him going is the only alternative argument to dropping Drew Holiday, because otherwise the production hasn't been there in a very bad dip. And they're going to, if anything, rest their guys down the stretch. It's a little bit more competitive this season. They're in second, actually. So maybe they push a little bit more than they did last year. And that's really the only thing I keep visualizing is maybe they want to get Drew going before the playoffs start. But the better odds are that they're just going to say, hey, you know what, just cruise in and we'll give you a couple games off here and there, and you're not producing already.
I agree with everything you said. 10-team league, flush. 12-team league, flush. 14-team league, I have him in the Cam Dynasty. He's in my IR spot right now. He may force me to make a difficult decision here before the end of the year. But right now, Drew Holiday is hanging in there on a 14-team league roster. We roster 15 guys, okay, plus 6 IRs. All right. So this is actually probably more like a 16-team league in actuality. And I'm hanging in there with Drew Holiday for now. But I fully co-sign Brew and what he's saying about Drew. He's a name guy at this point. The stats are not backing up the name and the resume. 3 drops for me, Karis LeVert. We thought he might start, play 30 minutes off the bench. Krejci was that guy on Saturday. Quinn Snyder freaking loves Krejci, okay? So I think he's going to be a better bench guy for the Hawks than LeVert. George Niang was in the starting 5 and was very good. Talk more about him in a minute. Dalton Knecht is on my drop list here. And frankly, Brew, like I advocated some Knecht investment, and I think we all did last Thursday when the trades were going down and stuff. But I didn't overinvest in Knecht just because of the Nick Smith thing. And LaMelo Ball was making his return shortly, right? But Dalton Knecht can safely be sent back to waivers right now. And then Eric Gordon, who was getting busy for me in the Cam Dynasty. Maybe a lot of you as a streamer or an end-of-your roster type of guy. The goodies were there, the 3 balls, the steals, playing consistently. But he's been 18 minutes now in his last 2 games with Embiid back and Paul George back. And they got their guys, so they don't need Eric Gordon to play big minutes. All right, Brew on the Fantasy NBA today. You've got the GOATs, Rick Kamla and Aaron Bruski, a couple of OGs hanging and banging on a Monday afternoon. Give me your top 3 buy low targets, either like overall or coming off the weekend that we just saw. But talk to me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I got 4. I'll go with 3. Michael Porter Jr. has been pretty bad over the last month. And he's had a huge week. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think a lot of plugged in people are going to fall for this. But if Michael Porter Jr.'s GM was just sort of on cruise control, and you got the Luka trade, you got the trade deadline, you got all this crap going on, and they just kind of, you throw them the trade offer and they go and they look and they, oh man, this guy's stats suck. He's been terrible. He's like barely a late round guy over the last month. And they don't know that there was a lot of pressure on him during the trade deadline. He was the pivot piece that they were thinking about possibly moving off of. That kind of stuff, it gets into the team's DNA. And then you had Russell Westbrook in the lineup taking up a lot of the oxygen. I think that might have been a middle of the season thing for Denver rather than a strategy they want to take into the playoffs. So I think that they kind of revert back to their usual form, and Michael Porter Jr. being a mid-round guy. So I think there's some value there. Goga Bitadze, he's struggled since coming back, and who knows, maybe that's a thing. They've got a lot of big pieces that moved back, but it makes sense that when you bring back all these big pieces and you're in the middle of some struggles, and he himself has been dinged up pretty badly, concussion and hip issue at the same time, I think there's a chance this maybe doesn't go off the way that it was going off before, but he was going off at a top 50 level. I think these are the kinds of chances you have to take in the middle of a season. And then Scoot Henderson, shout out Dr. A, who's been sort of on this all season long, even while he's been struggling. He's now been a mid-round play over the last couple of weeks, and he's had a solid late-round value in the weeks before that. So he's actually turning a corner here. And I think when people look at Portland box scores, they're so messy. You got 6 or 7 guys producing at the same levels, and Scoot's got this reputation now, something of a bust. I don't know that people have kind of understood that they're ready to turn the corner, put Scoot into high gear here down the stretch. He had a huge April last year, as Doc always points out. So I think Scoot might have some buy low value here in the right situation. So yeah, I kind of like that list. I'm pretty excited about that.
I am as well. That is Aaron Bruski. Follow his advice, please. You will win championships. I've got some offerings myself. Top 3 buy low targets here, Brew. Number 1 is Jamal Murray of the Nugs. You've got the Westbrook injury. You've got the Michael Porter Jr. injury. He is questionable for tonight's game. Murray and Gordon are deemed probable. Murray, like, if Porter Jr. comes back tonight, this is sort of conditional on that. But Jamal Murray should really start to take off. And also, Brew, he tends to me to be as the season goes along, he gets better guy. It's always a slow start. There's never all-star buzz about him. And then he picks up steam as the season goes along, and you get to Feb and March and April, and he starts to roll a little bit. And then we know he's a playoff performer, unless he's playing Minnesota with Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels. But if he's playing the Lakers, we know he's doing outstanding things. But Jamal Murray, I think, could be a nice little buy low target for you. Here's a big name, Brew. And I got some stats for you on a man named Tyrese Halliburton. Did you know Tyrese Halliburton has not scored 20 points for 5 straight games? Did you know that Tyrese Halliburton has not had 10 or more assists since January 10th, 1 month ago today? Did you know that? So
I did not know that.
Halliburton is Halliburton. His overall numbers are fantastic. The 3 balls, the steals, my God, right? But these lines have been pretty lame. Like, you're opening up the box score and you're seeing, 18-5 or 13-9. And
0.
he had that dreadful game. Maybe his manager is it's been a long year with Halliburton, man. Because it has. He got off to the slow start. He's not even an all-star. Siakam poached as all-star. Before the year, Brew, if I said Halliburton's not going to be an all-star, you'd have said, what? You're crazy, bro. You would have said that, I think.
I know. Actually, I've been big on Halliburton. I had to deal with all that crap. In the middle of the first round, the question was, who were you taking, right? And Halliburton was a guy that you thought, hey, I'm not excited about this at all. But he's probably going to be fine. And then the terrible start, it was so publicized. And he makes it a little worse on himself. When he goes down hard. And you see his teammates all come around and want to give him a hug because they're like, man, this dude's at the bottom. And then he just sort of steps up and gets back on the train. And he has no fear with that. He gets right back in there and he makes it happen. And he's been In a 9-cat league, he's at almost a top 12 value now on a per game basis. So he's rehabbed his value while simultaneously not making headlines, not making all-stars, having 0-point games. That tells you how strong his fantasy game really is. And so, yeah, if somebody's just like, it's Halliburton, yeah, go get him, because there's actually more levels to this.
Guy, you got a guy that I believe. I'm just saying, I try to go get Halliburton, man. The lines are going to get better. And then I got one more for you here, Brew. Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs has been gone a lot and then came back for one game, got re-injured. He's now been out. Okay, he's doubtful for the next game. But he's not going to miss the rest of the year. Okay, this is a reminder. Go get Suggs. I promise you the Suggs manager is ready to trade Jalen Suggs right now. I promise, okay? Jalen Suggs' stat line in 35 games, 16, 4, and 4, 0.9 blocks, 1.5 steals, and 2.2 threes. That's a goodie line. That's almost 1-1-1 across the board there, and it's a good PRA, not a great PRA. Go make an offer on Jalen Suggs. He ain't going to be out for very much longer. And so just a little tout for you right there. All right. So the three guys that I've got here to buy low with: Jamal Murray, Tyrese Halliburton, Jalen Suggs. I'm obsessed with point guards. I do want to tell you guys before we move on here, do yourself a favor, download the Sports Ethos app. It is completely free. Okay. Takes no time to download. And the player news feed is phenomenal. There's other tools to help you dominate your leagues, to update with up-to-date feeds covering the NBA, MLB, and NFL. Don't worry, we're not missing anything. Okay, it's as comprehensive as you can get in the industry. And I use it on a daily basis. And if it wasn't, because it's Bruski and Andre. Okay, it's going to be the most comprehensive thing going here. It's badass. So download the Sports Ethos app, and then right out at your thumb, you can just get the player blurbs, who's in, who's out tonight, real quick. We make it easy for you. All right, Brew. So let's look ahead to Monday's action here. Let's start with 5 streaming options for this massive Monday night slate. Take us into your list, man.
Yeah. No, when I'm looking at streaming options, I do lean heavily toward trying to get some rest of season upside. So just sort of know that. I know a lot of people maybe not look at it that way, and they just want to turn and burn and get as much value as they can in the given matchup. So that's fine. If that's your strategy, then maybe downgrade a couple of these guys. But like Ty Jerome is close to the top of my list, because not only do I think he will perform in this game, I also think that the rest of season value for Ty Jerome could be special. Now, in head-to-head formats, some of that value is coming from percentages. Keep that in mind. But if they stay 5 games ahead of Boston, and it could easily happen that way, that's when you're going to start to see Donovan Mitchell take games off. That's when you're going to start to see everybody take games off. And the guy that they know they trust that's going to mop it up and do a really, really good job of it at the same time is Ty Jerome. So that's an exciting one right there. We've talked about him a lot. Vit Krejci, Moussa Diabate, I think, is an excellent streaming option if he's somehow available. We've talked about him all show long. Same with Nick Smith Jr., all the Washington guys. And before I get into the Washington guys, it's obligatory, I should say, Keon Ellis. And also we've talked about Najee Marshall. These guys not only have rest of season value, but if they're not above the cut line in your league, so to speak, go grab them. But the Washington stashes, Bub Carrington's probably not available after the big line, but Justin Champagnie, Keyshawn George, Tristan Vukcevic, I think all of these guys, the minute that they really truly just cut everybody out of the equation in Washington and let the young guys play, all those guys are going to go off. So if you can get them for one game, get some value out of them, possibly put your chip down put your marker down on these guys, and maybe it explodes, and then you have a rest of season play. So those are the top of my list right now.
I love it, man. All right, let me get to my list right here. I agree with all the guys you brought up. Some of these guys, like, we consider them roster guys right now, like a Buzelis, like a Bub Carrington. But you look at their Yahoo roster percentage, and it's still very, very low. And so for most people, they're going to be looking at these guys as streamers. Just wanted to say that. So streamers for tonight's action, okay? I want to give you a man named Aaron Wiggins. Wiggins of OKC, okay? He is low-key on a major heater right now. Cason Wallace is out again tonight, all right? So it should be – so Wiggins is going to start again. Isaiah Joe is also out of tonight's game, so he'll be unleashed against the lame Pelicans. Over the last week, Aaron Wiggins is number 33 in basketball monster value. 18.5-2 PRA, 1.1 stocks, 2.8 threes, shooting 57%. Great streamer and could be rest of season value. I don't know about all that, but temporary value, yes. Buddy Hield, who we've talked about a little bit here at Milwaukee, no Giannis. So Milwaukee's, shorthanded and different and changing here with Kuzma being infused. But Buddy Hield, Steve Kerr actually is making a correct rotational decision right now, a stark deviation from the rest of the year. But he's playing Buddy about 30 minutes a game now. So Buddy can get his footing, not worried about a 1-for-6 start. I'm never going to play again. Kerr's running him out there, and 4 threes in each of the last 3 games with other goodies from Buddy Hield. And then George Niang. Okay, let's see if he can do this again. Saturday was a goodie line. 3 steals, 4 threes, 16, 6, and 3 PRA. Tonight, he's at Orlando. And so he played 26 minutes if he's starting and playing that much time. I'm not like, ooh, you got to go get George Niang right now. But I'll tell you what, Brew, if we get another game tonight, like we got on Saturday from George Niang, who has always been more talented than the playing time he's gotten in Philly and in Cleveland, right? Remember, George Niang was the dude at Iowa State, like Big 12 player of the year type of guy. Like he was a badass in college and he's very, very talented. He's more than a catch and shoot 3-point shooter. And he's showing that right now.
Yeah, the minivan is hard to play in the playoffs, but in a regular season setting, first of all, he's played with head coach Quinn Snyder in the past in Utah. So they know each other. They trust each other. So that's an interesting take there. While you're getting into all the deep cuts, I want to also get into the deep cuts. Rob Dillingham, I think Muhammad Gay in Atlanta is an interesting one. He actually didn't play in the next game after the big game because he would have been playing in 3 straight days between that and the G League squad. So how they shuttle him back and forth might get in the way of some fun and some value there. But there's a deep cut for you. Seth Curry, all your Brooklyn stashes. Luke Cornett, I think, is an interesting one down the stretch because he's had some pop in the past. He hasn't had it this season so much, but as they rest big men in Boston, Quentin Post, all these New Orleans guys, Jose Alvarado, Brandon Boston had an ankle thing. He's kind of my favorite there. Alvarado, if he could just stay healthy, would be my favorite. Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk are going to maybe get a chance to play tonight. That's something I'm keeping an eye on. Carlo Matkovic had made a sound, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Javonte Green, Jordan Hawkins, that ball or the New Orleans squad's got a ton of going on. That Wiggins heater, great call on that one, man. Max Christie, Dante Exum, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura. There's a lot of names out there for folks to pick from streamers.
Indeed, man. We are the Fantasy NBA today. Rick Kamla and Aaron Bruski. So let's get to top 3 players to watch closely. Heading into tonight's action and also Brew could be moving forward here. My list is Julian Strawther, and that's connected to Michael Porter Jr., who's questionable for tonight's game. Strawther's been having some nice games. A good source of threes. He's been scoring in the teens a lot. Just monitor him. DeAndre Hunter with the Cavaliers. Brew had him on his drop list. I have dropped DeAndre Hunter in the Cam Dynasty, okay? I don't think this is going to go well statistically for him in Cleveland, but I do want to see it because DeAndre Hunter was a primetime 6th man of the year candidate with the Atlanta Hawks. And, I'm wondering if he's going to play 30 minutes off the Cleveland bench and if they're really going to feature him or if that's still going to be kind of the Ty Jerome show. And then the Keyshawn George, Justin Champagnie situation in Washington, Brew. Because I wonder, are these guys going to do this the rest of the year? One guy plays one night, the other guy plays the other night, and then the other guy sits out? Or is Keyshawn George legitimately kind of injured right now? So, because Keyshawn George, to me, if he's playing 30 minutes every night as a starter, is going to be a league winner. He's a block steal 3 guy. He has a fantastic stat set that I want to see unleashed. So go ahead, man. What you got here?
That Keyshawn George thing, and also he looks the part, and that makes it fun and exciting. But at the same time, when you watch the Washington beat writers, when Champagnie's on the floor, they're just gushing because he's out there doing Champagnie things. I think both of them together probably will just do exactly that down the stretch. We'll see how much they want to play the vets. I'm watching Muhammad Gay, 3.3 defensive stats, and half of a 3-pointer in 20 minutes per game over the last 4 games. Those are monster numbers. And if he has any sort of a pulse there and they're going to actually go with that, that could be great. Want to watch Osar Thompson. He's had a couple great, the line's moving up for him, but we've seen this so many times. It's such a big, buzzy name. Can he stay consistently in at least late round value so you're not getting screwed if he has a bad game? And then this is more of a team thing, is the Phoenix Suns. I mentioned them a little bit earlier. Like there's a ton of fantasy value there. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, blah, blah, blah. But if these guys struggle and they start falling behind in the standings, and then they start playing for themselves and they start playing for their next year, the injuries are going to start to rack up and they're going to start taking games off. And then who starts sucking up the value? You mentioned bowl earlier. If there's a bowl silly season, we'll go nuts. It'll be amazing. It'll be awesome. There's no more interesting fantasy player that's not getting sort of play right now than bowl because of everything that he can do. So a lot going on in the league, but I kind of honed in on those ones because I think that there's just some buzziness to them.
Bol has that 3-ball block game, man. Bol should be a guy that you're snatching off of waivers right now. I don't know what's going on with Durant. Is he mad that he wasn't traded? Is he taking his ball and gone home? Is he injured? How injured is he? It's weird. Again, weirdest deadline ever. So go get Bol right now on a speculative thing, because if Kevin Durant misses the next 2 weeks, you're going to want to get into some Bol. The stat lines are very, very juicy from him. Okay, Brew, you mentioned stashes. Let's kind of consolidate it here and summarize it for the people. Give us your top 3 season-long stashes.
Right now, I think order-wise, it's a lot of Washington. Justin Champagne's my favorite one. Keyshawn George is right behind him. I've got Bub Carrington rostered. He would be before those guys. And then, I probably do look at Muhammad Gay. Like those numbers are amazing. And if they think that he can be a piece of the future going forward, I'm a little hesitant because he could just simply be in the G League. But, the other guys on the list, maybe Nick Smith rises to the threshold of being more exciting. Guys like Jalen Smith, we've just been watching this for so long. And yeah, there's some upside, but not 3.3 defensive stats and a half of a 3 in 20 minutes per game over 4 games. I know it's a small sample size, but that's the kind of stuff, and especially coming from the G League, it's the new shiny toy. So I'm excited there. Luke Cornett hits my list here. And then of course, Osar Thompson, if he's not rostered at some point in time, it's got to happen, right? And we got you on mute.
Oh man, the mute button.
You love that button.
Oh boy. Okay, so I love the list, Brew. I did not have a joke get usurped by the mute situation right there. But I do have 3 season-long stashes. I want to give you Keon Johnson here because, Brew, as we speak, D'Angelo Russell, Cam Johnson, and Nick Claxton are still playing. How long are the Nets going to do that? Keon Johnson's going to be good now, but when/if they shut those guys down, and it's the Keon Johnson show, that's when you're going to get the 26 and 7 with a block and 3 steals and 4 threes, right? That's when you're going to get the nutty lines from him. You're not getting nutty lines from him right now. You're getting solid lines from him right now. Stash him. Because with this list, I want some current value, Brew. Okay. You can't be giving me bagels out there, but it's current value with a chance for a lot of pop off of that current value. So Keon Johnson, Isaiah Collier, who we've been talking about for well over a month here. It's screaming at you to pick him up. Okay. You still haven't. He's not rostered enough in Yahoo leagues. And he's really good right now. But when/if they shut all the guys down in Utah, Collier's going to go crazy. Okay. And then Moussa Diabate. To me, he's a stash. He is not a widespread drop, which is kind of what is happening here. Stash him. Okay. He's got an eye abrasion. The Williams thing is super weird. I don't see Nurkic playing every single game the rest of the way for Charlotte. So those are my 3 stashes: Keon Johnson, Isaiah Collier, and Diabate. Man, we are rocking and rolling here, Brew. And why don't you tell us what's going on here with Sports Ethos' future? What's on the docket for you? What are you excited about right now? Tell the people about it, man.
Man, I'm freaking really excited. I was sitting there just kind of partying in San Diego, and the phone goes off because we got all those nominations. I had no idea that was going to happen, and so that increased the celebration significantly.
Nice.
So we were having fun. And
did you just raise the roof? Is that what
I did?
Did you underhandedly raise the roof?
I did. It was a passive raising of the roof. I'm hurt.
It was a Rick Barry free throw raising of the roof.
Hey, you know what? If it works, don't hate on it. The things we're doing are really it's amazing. We got a draft guide for the Major League Baseball squad that's out right now, and these guys, they've been doing it the old-fashioned way. They've been blurbing. They've been everything we used to do at Roto World, and we brought over to Sports Ethos, that attention to detail and the lifting of the weights, so to speak, with all those blurbs and just getting sharp. These guys have translated that into a draft guide, which means they're the folks that have the thing that everybody else doesn't have. And so if you get that draft guide, you're going to have that thing that nobody else has. That's awesome. We also are doing another Bruski 150 in this upcoming week, and we'll be releasing that during the All-Star weekend, All-Star break. So keep an eye out for that. It's the one time of the year where things stop for quite a bit, and we can gather all of our resources, and we can start to look at the rest of the season and give you guys the league winners that nobody else is going to have. So we got those two things going on right now, as well as the app, which is my favorite thing. So get over to Sports Ethos, check out a membership. The All Sport will get you both the MLB draft guide as well as the NFL draft guide, which is coming right around the corner, it feels like. And then you're right into the NBA season next year, so you'll be locked in.
That's Aaron Bruski, man. There's a lot of fun stuff going on right here. Tell everybody that Sports Ethos is a badass in this space, okay? That's your job out there. There's some, people have been around a little longer. They're not doing it better than us over here. Okay. So tell people what's going on, retweet our stuff. We'd really, really appreciate that. And definitely subscribe to the show, to sportsethos.com. And as he said, set up a membership. It is Rick Kamla. It is Aaron Bruski. We're the Fantasy NBA today here on a Monday. Now looking ahead to Monday's slate in a way that is near and dear to my heart, Brew. Against the spread, AKA ATS, and player props. Ricky Props will be in here in just a second. Do you have any against the spread plays tonight, Brew? Do you have any got any team? What we're talking about here? Who you laying points on? Who you taking points?
It's funny. We were talking before the show. I used to do this for us, and I got into capping. And when you get into capping, it's like a whole nother animal. And the league so much deeper than even as a fantasy guy. You feel like you know everything as a fantasy guy, and then you get into capping, and now you know about schedules, and you know about motivations, and you know about what teams are trying to do on a given night. And so I like Minnesota +9. I don't know how these lines shifted overnight. I guess I could take a quick look at that. But Minnesota +9.5. I like this because Cleveland is high on the hog right now. They've got a couple players they're trying to work in. Minnesota has a couple players that they don't have. And they've got that sort of perfect concoction of everybody's getting the ball enough. You don't have Julius Randle there. I think right now they are 7-2 in their last 9 games. So it's clearly working. And when you have a situation of the guys coming back, and we don't know when, it's probably going to be after the All-Star break. Everybody and their mother's like, okay, well, let's prove to the world we can do it without them. Let's prove to the world what we got. All these guys that don't get to play, that have to watch, they're going to give it their all against a big name team. And Cleveland has won so many games, and they are just due to kind of and actually they haven't been as perfect as they've been throughout the entire season in the last month. They've got a bad defensive issue. I believe the guys on the Cavs show were talking about that the other morning. So I think this Cavaliers number is a little inflated. So I'll take the Wolves for, say, like 2 units.
I love it, man. I love it. The Wolves are playing well. They got a big win over the weekend. Jaden McDaniels is vibing. Go Bears rolling. And you got the double big thing for Cleveland against Rudy and Naz Reid. They got the double big thing. It's going to be a great game, man. Brew is taking the points with Minnesota. This one is conditional. And Andre Lemouche, since we've been on the air, let me know if they have green-lit Jason Tatum or not, or if he's still questionable for the Boston at Miami game tonight. So this is conditional. If Jason Tatum doesn't play, so don't play this now. If you find out that Tatum is greenlit for this game, then go ahead and play this. But Boston is -5.5. Boston on the road is just a team you bet, period. Do not play them at home. In fact, look to the other guy when the game is in Boston. Boston's tremendously weird and psychotic at home right now. On the road, they're also psychotic like serial killers. Okay, they're there to kill your team. 21-6 on the road, 5 straight wins on the road. The Heat are 2-3 in their last 5 games. They're not playing great. Andrew Wiggins hopes to make his debut tonight. It looks like that's going to happen, I think. Okay, with or without, I kind of like Boston -5.5 more if he plays, because then it's going to cause a total recalibration with the Heroes, with the Bam Adebayo's, with all of these guys. And I did read that Tyler Hero is questionable with a stomach illness, and that makes me like Boston even more here. So I got Boston -5.5. Andre is saying today is an optional shoot around, so Tatum and Brown not being here doesn't necessarily mean they're not playing. He got a report from Noah Dalzell that says that. So I don't know, but it's a conditional play here, Brew. I got Boston -5.5 if Jason Tatum plays. And I know Drew Holiday's out, but I kind of don't care at this point. And then I want to get back on Portland, Brew. I want to get on Portland because the Blazers are getting 9.5 points at Denver tonight. Ooh, so scary. Well, check it out. To me, Vegas is not giving enough respect to Portland in the run that they've been on. And Vegas is giving to me a little bit too much respect to these shorthanded Nugs. Remember, no Westbrook, Michael Porter Jr. questionable. Portland just got smacked at Minnesota, which tells me there's going to be a bounce back factor in play here. You say, what about Portland on the road, Cam? They won all those games at home. Correct. But they began their run of winning ways, okay, on the road. They won 3 straight games, came back home, and then completely took off and took the league by storm. But there were 3 consecutive road wins in that stretch. And Brew, Portland won the first meeting 126-124 against Denver in Portland. Give me the points with the Blazers tonight.
Yeah, that was a game that I almost went for, and I kind of chickened out. And it's a weak reason because they're going to play again. And you can kind of take the knowledge from the first game and play it into the second game. And it's like, just take the easy way out, like a loser here. And here's you get DeAndre Ayton, and you also have 2 backup bigs in Portland that can also be brought in to just help with the Jokic problem. So Jokic isn't going to just own the entire court without any resistance there. So Portland absolutely not getting any respect. They have a great equation right now with all those big wings that can play multiple different ways. And Tamani Kamara is a killer, man. That guy is really, really good. So I would be with you on it. Now that I heard you're with me, I'm with you, Rick. And I would take that for my personal. I would take probably about a unit and a half on that.
I'm a unit on each of those. I'm not like in step outville. I'm just one unit, just solid plays. I don't know if you play $20 on games, play $20 on it. 50 is your number, throw 50 on it. But that's where I'm at. Just a 1 unit play on both of those, especially with the iffy status of Jason Tatum. Do you have some prop bet deliveries for the people, Brew?
I might. I think I only have one, so I'll just shoot it out here. It's Najee Marshall. I don't know what the number is. I haven't hunted it out, but I just imagine that the number's not going to reflect the reality on the court, that he's got great potential to go for 20 points in this game. So check whatever that number out is there. But Orlando -5 at home against the Hawks. I think the Hawks are 3-1 in their last 4 games. So I think people are pretty hip on the Hawks right now. But Orlando struggled so much lately, and now they're starting to get their momentum. And this is a team that's like a 45, 46, 47, 48 win basketball team. Yes, Jalen Suggs is not there, and that's a really big deal. But these guys are starting to get that rhythm, and I think that they're going to try to make a statement in this game. They're so low in the standings right now for where they want to be, and I think this bodes well. Back to your Jalen Suggs take from earlier, I think this team in the last third of the season here is going to try to win, say, 3/4 of their ball games and really give it their best so they hit the playoffs with the full head of steam. So I think tonight at home against this Hawks squad, 5 points is a pretty good price for them. I go
Najee Marshall's at 13.5.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Bruski props, baby. Bruski props in full effect. All right, how many prop bets do I have here, Brew? I've got 4 plus a laugh. I got 4 plus a laugh. How about that? The 4 that are definitive here: De'Aaron Fox, of the San Antonio Spurs. Over 22.5 points. He had 9 in his previous game. Friday night, remember, he was just late with the buzzer beater. So his flow in San Antonio point-wise has gone 24, 22, 9. He also has not had an eruption, a 28, a 33. He has not had a game like that yet. To me, he's due for that game. And he's got a great opponent to do it against at Washington, okay? Now, this is the third game in 4 nights for San Antonio. Buzzkill, right? Well, it's also the third game in 4 nights for Washington, so there's no advantage for either team there. De'Aaron Fox over 22.5 points. I like George Niang over 9.5 points tonight, Brew. George Niang had 16 points in 26 minutes in Saturday's start, okay? It's 9.5. I got to get to double figures. I like his chances of doing so. So I'm going over on Niang. I'm going over on Bam Adebayo. And I put this in, Brew, even before the Tyler Hero news, right? Hero is questionable with a stomach illness right now. Bam is at 15.5 points for tonight's game. 15.5. I looked at that number. I was like, his point flow over the last 5 games is 21, 30, 23, 18, 18. He's living way over this number, and his play is surging. And I'm not worried about Andrew Wiggins. Like, he's a big. Andrew Wiggins is going to disturb what they do on the perimeter, I think. But Bam is still going to get his. And Bam gets up for these games. This is Boston, yo. This is a rivalry game. He is the heartbeat of Heat culture right now. I like Bam over 15.5 points. And one last one for you here, Brew, before the last ski, is Bobby Portis over 16.5 points. Doc and I joke about it all the time. I'm sure he does with you. Whenever Giannis is out, load up Bobby Portis. Here comes the big old Bobby Portis game. Giannis is out through the All-Star break, and he always goes off when he's out. Now, you've got Kyle Kuzma in there, okay, but you don't have Chris Middleton, all right? So I think the goodies are going to be there from Portis. He flirts with 2010 every time Giannis is out, so I'm going with him. And it's against Golden State at home. It's going to be a big game. Everybody knows that Steph is in the house. Jimmy Butler's in the house. And Bobby Portis is an emotional player, Brew, who gets wired by games like these, a la Draymond Green. So I like it. There you go. There's my 4-pack of Ricky props.
That Portis thing, it feels like you're just stealing money, but so I would co-sign that a million times. The interesting thing about Bam is that for whatever reason, I don't agree with this, but they let him shoot like crazy against Miami in the playoffs last year without Jimmy Butler. But, you know, that's the same as right now. You've got 26 attempts, 22 attempts, 18 attempts, 13 attempts, 18 attempts in last year's playoffs. No game under 20 points, from 20 to 25 points in each of those games. It's not pretty. You know, it's a lot of long twos. It's some garbage you don't want to see. But, man, he's getting the rock because for whatever reason, they feel like they need him to be shooting and scoring against that ball club.
Yeah, they do, man. Yeah, they do. Now, the fun one here, Brew, is Luka Doncic over 26.5. And I say that as we get a report here from Dave McMenamin that the Lakers say Luka and LeBron are updated to probable for tonight's game against the Jazz. Now, you need to know Markkanen is in, Collins is in, Kessler is in. The frankly rather talented front court of the Utah Jazz is playing tonight. So be careful on a Laker wager. Oh, the Lakers are just going to kill them tonight through Utah. Remember, Utah's playing their guys, okay? That makes them because maybe the line was built on Filipowski and Svi Mikhailiuk and all these guys. Was the line built on Utah playing their guys? Just saying. But, Brew, Luka Doncic is at 26.5 with his point prop, which is very, very low. This guy averaged 34 a game last year. He's at 28 a game this year. And game 1 with the Lakers, we know you got to share with LeBron James. And so this is not an official delivery of mine because and you've got a possible blowout factor here where the fourth quarter is kind of not in play, and that's how dudes hit unders, not overs. But are you with Luka over 26.5, under 26.5? Where you at?
Yeah, I'm with you on almost, I think, everything you've said here today. This one, it's talk about the biggest FU game in history on the way. Like this coming, dude, like 40 for Luka, and the Jazz will play this thing out because this is probably the maybe the 1 or 2, 3 tops games left circled on their calendar. This is the only time this year they'll get the juice from the national attention that's going to be on this game. They're going to play it like it's the damn Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a close game and Luka struggles early on a little bit, but then has a third or fourth quarter for the ages. But yeah, 26, please. He's going for 30 at least.
Okay, so I guess I needed I guess I needed two brains on this one, because
you're going to go with it now.
Yeah, because like I liked it, but here's the you don't want to be Johnny Fan. You don't want to just say it's gonna happen because I want it to happen, or it's gonna happen because it's supposed to happen. No. That's how you lose money. Okay. You've got to bet on it because you know it's gonna happen. Okay. So like Luka should go over 26.5 tonight. And I do think that LeBron and the guys are going to really look to get Luka ingrained and comfortable. But I needed an attaboy. I needed a cosigner right there. You know, like a 23-year-old with bad credit trying to buy a car, Brew. I needed the dad to cosign it, and you just did.
Hey, amen to that. I think basically LeBron's going to do everything in his power to make sure that Luka has a good game, because this team needs the boost. Like there's a lot of news, and Mark Williams didn't happen, but they need the boost, and they really need to get the most. And LeBron knows this. They need to get the most out of these next 30 games, whatever they got left, because it is quite a piece to move into the puzzle. And if they're going to make a playoff run, they're going to have to get the most out of it.
All right, it's Aaron Bruski, it's Rick Kamla here on the Fantasy NBA today. Luka does make his debut tonight. Doc and I will be back after the game to break it all down. I will give you this one last nugget here from Casey Johnson. Lonzo Ball missed practice and almost certainly won't play Tuesday. He doesn't play in back-to-backs, and missing Tuesday gives him one more day of rest. Ayo Dosunmu was sent home with an illness as well. Wow, an illness is going through the Chicago Bulls.
Look at that Super Bowl illness going around.
Tell you what. That all equals Matas Buzelis, baby. God bless those guys. I hope they get well soon. That all means goodies from Matas Buzelis.
I will let it waft in the air and just take it all over.
Brew, anything else you want to tout before we get out of here, man?
No, man, just everybody, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Andre. I mean, seriously, this show's going off. Everything here at Sports Ethos is going off. I think we're going to have a great last third of the season. I'm really excited for the baseball and football stuff, and for everybody to hit their stride. That was the most exciting thing for me, was seeing these other guys get their shine this weekend, more so than another nom for me. And even the nom for me is like that's all you guys, because literally I can barely type. I have to use a dictation software for all this stuff to work out. So in that spot, really the only way I can actually even just function here as an analyst is because I have such a great team around me. So really excited about all that. Check out sportsethos.com and just keep following the show. Make sure you're all subscribed and all that good stuff.
And retweet our stuff so other people can see it off of your feed. For Aaron Bruski, for Andre Lemouche, I am Rick Kamla. Thank you all so much for checking us out here on the Fantasy NBA today. Go ahead and retweet this broadcast right here, because it's been brought to you by Bet Online.
Oh.
All right, Brew. So we are here taking some questions backstage. We should call this backstage with Cam and Brew. Backstage with Brew and Cam. Backstage with Doc and Brew.
I don't know if I can keep up with you. If we're hanging out backstage.
What do you mean? You're the guy that was in San Diego putting him down all weekend.
I was prepping for my trip to Florida to see you and Doc. I need to train for this.
I love it, dude. I love it. I might have had a little fun over the weekend too. Super Bowl, some live shows. All right. Anyway, Jeff Martin says right here, I have Tatum, LaMelo, Booker as my three keepers, 12-team 9-cat. Is injured Jalen Johnson worth keeping over one of them for next year, or try to trade him for an asset for this year's playoffs? Good question, man.
That's a really good question.
Boy, I tell you what, I'm trading LaMelo.
I was just looking at that.
I'm trading LaMelo, man. I don't trust LaMelo. I think he's soft. I don't think he's a super competitive guy. I kind of I got weird on LaMelo when he played LeBron for the first time and they were asking him about it. He's like, I don't really know anything about LeBron. They're like, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't watch basketball like that. And I was like, what? Like, you just gave us a glimpse of your basketball soul, young man, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would trade LaMelo Ball, and I would hang in there with Jalen Johnson.
Well, here's another one that's maybe a little bit more X's and O's. Like, he plays a style of basketball that's great for fantasy hoops, but like, I think if he played with maybe a third of the league that was contending, they would slap the crap out of him for that stuff. Like,
he has honestly, a wild style of play. He's a wild. Who is more wild, a young Manu or LaMelo?
Oh, LaMelo. Because Pop wouldn't let that happen. And so what that means, though, is if he ever does get it together and he cares, well, firing off all those threes and going for all those steals probably isn't going to happen as much. So yeah, no, it's an interesting one. Jalen Johnson's got some injury concerns, but I would do that. What you said.
You're going to be able to get a lot. You're going to be able to get more for LaMelo, by the way, right now than you will be for Jalen Johnson too. All right. Damian Santiago says, has Jovic gone down to streamer level? I've got him in a 10-team ESPN points. I've also got Scoot, Buzelis, Ware, and Vassell as my bottom guys. Brew, you go first on this one, man.
Yeah, I might actually like Jovic a little bit better than Vassell, though Vassell's kind of hanging on here and proving his worth. He's got the big contract. They want him to be good. Maybe they can run like you were talking about earlier and start getting more possessions. And maybe if something happens with Chris Paul, Vassell gets really solidified, whereas Jovic has a big question mark right now. But Jovic is really fitting well, and he might go for 14, 8, and whatever, the rest of the way. And that might just be more solid than a Devin Vassell that's getting you like 15 and whatever. And I think he's definitely down to streamer level in a 10-team league, Jovic. But between those two guys, depending on what if you want upside, you wait for Vassell to be good long term. If you want something right now that's consistent, I think Jovic is your guy.
I'd go get some Bub off of waivers right now. Jovic to me is a streamer in a 12-team league, not just a 10-team league. In a 14-team league, he's a roster guy. But in 10 or 12, he's a streamer for me. And I like your collection of end-of-roster guys. I do. WS says, hi, team. I have Goga and Wendell Carter in a 9-cat 12-team league. Are any hold or drop? I gotta believe. See if Ware's out there on waivers. See if Buzelis is out there on waivers. Goga and WCJ are kind of anesthetizing me. If you had to make me choose, I would take Goga.
Yeah, I think Wendell Carter's really his career is going to take a dive here because even when he's at his healthiest right now, he can't defend certain players, and when he's hurt, it's even worse. And so that's his calling card, his defense. So I think that's going to be bad for him. Goga has top 50 potential. We haven't seen it. So I'd have him as a strong hold right now. Carter's a drop.
All right. Beyond the Rabbit Hole says, would you play Luka in DFS tonight? Good question. We just went over on his point prop of 26.5, but I'm going to say no to this, Brew, because if you're playing Luka, he's at the top of the heap. And you're paying top dollar, for the showdown captain 1.5 times thing and all that. It's a beefy night in the NBA. There's got to be a star player that's more sure with more upside. There's a possible blowout factor here tonight with the Lakers in Utah. So I would say go somewhere else.
Yeah, you nailed it. All angles.
So Don Sicario says Collier or Beal, 9-cat, 10-team, Brew.
Oh, that's a fun one. Man, I mean, let's just assume we're punting turnovers because everybody is, and then you go, then it's a little closer because Beal, when he's playing, he's going to gift you top 75 numbers pretty much, unless he's really struggling. So Collier doesn't climb that high because of those percentages. That said, Beal's the odd man out in this equation in Phoenix. While he kept his trade, his blocker on the trade deal, he pissed everybody else off there. They didn't want Beal there, so he's pissed off the team. Now, if he was the last man standing and they said, hey, you can go run the team because this thing just blew up, that wouldn't surprise me, but that's really risky. Collier is going to be the guy the rest of the way, he and Keontae George. I'll take Collier in this one despite Beal having the better stat set.
I'd take Collier as well, and let me just add this, Brew. It's a 10-team league. In a 10-team league, you can gamble more on a ad drop like this because Beal's a big name. He's probably going to be scooped up. But it's a 10-team league. There's always going to be a fertile waiver wire. It's always going to be that. That's why I hate 10-team leagues, because the waiver wire is too easy. Everybody's got a rock star team, okay? And so that, yeah, it's just you've got more 12-team league. It's a harder thing to drop Bradley Beal than in a 10. Adam Guntharp says, would you trade Luka for Cade Cunningham? Brew, go first on this one.
No. There's a few things here. I mean, Cade Cunningham, well, in a 9-cat league's averaging 4 turnovers per game, and it's a lot, and that's a mess. Luka does the same exact thing, but it takes Cade's value down further than it does Luka, all things equal. That said, Luka, I do think he takes a hit in Los Angeles just because of the LeBron James thing. I'm not seeing. I agreed with you said it the other day, Rick. You said that you can have 2 players continue to keep their usage, and then but once you bring the third guy in, they take a hit. But I do think that at the highest level, and we're talking about peak performance, that there has to be some sort of slippage there. How much is it? I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe bottom of the first round, something like that. That's still better than Cade. And Cade's, he's got these big poppy numbers right now, and there's tons of momentum for Detroit. And yeah, the roster is completely fashioned around him, but he doesn't have the gear that Luka has. And Luka's going to be the most motivated man on planet Earth for the rest of the season. So give me Luka here.
I love that answer. Luka's got a 70-point triple-double in him, and I love Cade Cunningham, but he does not have a 70-point triple-double in him, okay? So I would go I would not trade away Luka to get into Cade. I would trade away Cade to get into Luka, okay? And I'm not sure if you could do that or not. Guys, Luka was having a down year for Dallas, and what was it, the 21 games or whatever, at 28, 8, and 8. That was a down year for Luka. Okay. And Cade Cunningham is not that far off of that with his overall PRA, but it ain't 28, 8, and 8. Okay. So I would rather have him moving forward. Matt Carmody says, thanks, guys. Appreciate the show. Matt, we appreciate you listening with us a lot. I got to thank you from Beyond the Rabbit Hole and Don Sicario as well. Brew, we are out. For Aaron Bruski, for Andre Lemouche, we'll all be back together next Monday around 1 p.m. Eastern time with our version of the NBA Today. Check me out later on tonight. Around midnight Eastern time, we'll be up live, me and Doc, with a full recap of a huge Monday night in the NBA. Appreciate you all for hanging out with us. Have a great rest of your day. The show's been brought to you by Bet Online.